A male lion rushes towards the human in front of him. His hind legs stand upright. He is forbidden to throw himself into the man's arms, rubbing his chain against his former owner. Like a docile young cat who has been away for many years, he still recognizes his savior. This excitement, have you ever watched the reunion of people's hearts? Millions of people cried. It also leads to a touching and true story. His instructor is Christian. The one who was raised by humans but successfully returned to nature is the spiritual boy John and Albin since the end of the 1960s. Shay went to London at halftime recalling their youth, and they couldn't forget the encounter in Harrods. That was where they first met Christian. In those days, the British animal trade wasn't illegal as long as you had money. Even the building can be bought in a department store. The two young people who saw the little thing for the first time were deeply attracted by his big watery eyes and the unbelievable, the magic of resistance. Just one confrontation made them decide to buy it. London in the 60s, breeding exotic animals was very popular, and legit ended up costing John and Ace 250 caddies, starting from about £3,000 now. The lion has always been in people's eyes. These two young men are probably crazy. The huge cat litter box prepared is like a sun hat. The breeder Zhang has a very happy life despite the poor conditions. He always wanders among the goods and plays peekaboo games with the owner. At this time, the people in the Little Lion's tiger-headed and hot-headed store are all stupid, but as Christian grows up, the expenses of the ocean lion increase. The 6-month-old was able to eat 3 kilograms in one day, so the laborers Ace and John were very distressed. Fortunately, a photographer friend came to cooperate with him to shoot a series of works for Christian. Due to the time limit, this group was revived. The festival series of photography sold a good amount of income, and John even opened a bank account for him to store the money he earned, which solved the problem of eating. The growing lion cub still needs enough exercise. Where to go? It became the next difficult mechanism. Ace found it in a cemetery in the suburbs. This is a cub that grew up in the city. Two owners are playing with it in a cemetery. Like many growing lions, Christian is full of energy at this time. Playing the alarm clock to hone the skills needed for survival, the open space and free environment let his instinct gradually awaken, and a deep bond was established between people and lions. For Ace and John, Christian became the closest family member. He always rushed to the two human fathers with enthusiasm, and he did not respect them. Like an obedient cat, but the better they are, the more intense the pain of parting is. As the cub grows up day by day, the 1-month-old Christian has already weighed 70 kilograms. John and she, again, couldn't pick him up either until that's when they finally realized to try. It's a lion and lions can't live in cities. Finally, one time Christian got one. It was the first time in history that he lowered his ears to his throat and let out an extremely unfriendly growl. Both he and John knew that the city could no longer accommodate the lion. Christie Anne needs a new home, but the options left to Aspen and John are nothing more than a circus and a zoo. Seem like options, but both are rejected by both of them. They don't want Christian to spend the rest of his life in a cage like his parents. A human father decided to give the child a free future. They want to let the little persimmon return to nature. They met a movie star couple in Guyuan to help them. They had starred in a self-themed movie and were obsessed with animal protection. They recommended a lion expert named George. The other party specialized in training abandoned lions. They returned to nature, but it also meant that Christian would be sent to faraway Africa. From then on, he and Ace and John were separated. In the last few days before the execution, the group took the cub to the seaside and ran with the lion in the sunset. The sight will become the best memory forever in the hearts of the two fathers. One day the little lion boarded the plane to Kenya, and the young bear embarked on his journey to Africa. Let a human-raised bear return to nature. Listen, sounds like a fantasy. Christian has never set foot in Africa. He has never seen malice, and horses have never experienced the cruelty of nature. But self-professional George has his own way. His plan is to put together a thing for a lion cub, and another. The Big Brother group is about survival, but the chest is a game, not good at formatting guardrails, and they growl in anger. In the end, the little lion ushered in the first confrontation between the teacher and the student. Facing the attack of the bear market, Christian showed the bullet of Chengfu, but he did not give up fighting back. He regained the fighting instinct flowing in his blood and finally refuted the first stage. This brave little one, and they quickly became best brothers. Christian is always stuck with the big brother. They went from enemies to friends and will fight side by side in the future. Christian has found his own. Beth and John have given so much in the past year, and now it's time to say goodbye. The day they left, the little lion followed the car for a long time. In the days that followed, Christian and Deji worked together and Fang gradually grew up. Because a real stone bullet happened by accident when they were expanding their territories. Bo Yi was badly injured in a fight with other male lions. Although George helped him and had to go, the experience changed his temperament drastically. On June 6, 1971, Bo Yi returned to camp and attacked an assistant. Hearing the screaming, George rushed to the scene and saw the bear that was raising humans. He picked up the gun and finally chose the latter between the name of the poem and the appointment, but unfortunately, both lives were not saved in the end. The deceased pair of the game, Christian, was hit hard. He lost his best friend. After that, he often lay out his friend's grave for hours. In order to cheer him up as soon as possible, John decided to go to visit the family and help Christian get through it. The difficulty is that now it has been a year since the fully professional male lion is no longer the good boy he was back then. Can he still recognize the two human brains? The time has finally come when George and Christian are standing on the top of the mountain. First, he approached slowly and stopped when he noticed the two men. He looked at the two men in front of him without moving, and then moved forward cautiously again. Dance finally couldn't help but began to call his name loudly, and then a miracle happened. Christian, speeding up the pace and rushing to 2 years, an iconic bear, came home to his father's arms. A momentary dusty memory was awakened. They were reunited. At the end of the story, Christian came out of the haze and the two lionesses met the family. Revisiting, Christian has his own territory and has seldom returned to the tone, just as the two have no hope. A breezy male lion appeared at the hidden door. The former cub grew up. This time, he no longer fermented like before, but silently stayed by the two of them. Saying goodbye to the fathers in this way, the next day Christian disappeared and came back. When it came time for him to do something that belonged to him, Xiang has never gone back since then. He is very sad. Yuan knows in his heart that Christian will never come back. In the days to come, he will build his own business. Perhaps the bloodline of the London Lions. Maybe he will be in the wild, and in the last 10 years, he may also encounter a crisis, but anyway, he has a free life. Maybe on a bad night, it will dream of two human fathers who are smirking at him in front of the Harrods department store display rack.